All right, let's see. That's great today. Good. All right, I want to thank you all for being here today, both online and in person. Tonight's talk is going to be gut-brain connection. I know you may have thought it was going to be arthritis, but I did a little poll and I found out that more people want to learn about this than arthritis. So if you do want to learn about arthritis, I have done that talk 3 times in the past, and you can find it online. It will go over the different immunological and reaction states that you can go into. But we're going into the gut-brain connection because this is very common for a lot of people to want to know what they need to do. Why would they be having certain issues? What are the issues they could be having? If you have a gut problem, this can cause issues like inability to lose weight, immune issues, autoimmune issues, pain issues, digestive issues, as well as, I don't know if I said mood, but mood issues as well. So we want to look at this because we look a lot at the brain, but we want to look at the second brain of the body and see how is it actually functioning? What are we actually seeing? How does this all work? So with that being said, when we look at what's going on, we're going to be looking at the brain, and then we're going to be looking at the gut. And then we're going to also be looking at the connection between the brain and the gut, which is the nerve that we always have been talking about. Does anybody know what that nerve is? It starts with a big V. The vagus nerve, which is almost be called the Vegas Clinic. But yes, you might have some problems with that because they might think we're in a party zone or something, but that's not what we're here for. So, what are we here for? Brain working correctly, gut working correctly. So, when we look at this, we need to understand when gut health is involved, it's not just your digestive tract, aka, it's not just your colon, it's not just your large colon and your small colon, it's everything from A to Z. So, where do we start to make sure that everything is working correctly? The number one place that we are going to start at is the mouth. Do and smell. Do we masticate? Do we chew correctly? Do we produce saliva? If we chew and produce saliva, then we know we can have proper gut health. One of the main things that I will see that is simple but common problems is that people do not chew their food enough. When you don't chew enough, you won't actually break it down. You won't get the enzymes in your mouth to break down the food. And when you chew, guess what nerve it stimulates? The vagus nerve. So this is why if you are stressed out, chewing gum will calm you down. This is why during World War II, they gave chewing gum to all of the soldiers to literally calm them down. It literally calms the brain down. So we get the saliva in there. We break down the food mechanically. We stimulate the vagus nerve. Why is the vagus nerve important for stimulation? It's going to determine the next stage of digestion, which is stomach acid production. This is one of the key steps. And I will tell you from people that I have seen that have digestive issues, this is also one of the missing steps that most people will go by. So when I have a patient who's been to multiple other practitioners and they say, I still have a digestive issue, and I go, okay, do we know if you can chew correct? Well, nobody looked at that. Do we know if your vagus nerve is working correct? Well, nobody looked at that. Do we know if you have a stomach that is acidic? Nobody's looked at that. If you miss that, you can't work down. I need you to understand that for the gut to be an issue, you have to make sure everything before it is working correctly. So if your stomach is not acidic enough, guess what? Everything below it won't work correctly. That means that your large intestine, your small intestine will not work correctly, and then you can get all those problems. The dysbiosis, that means bacterial imbalance, the bloating, the gas, the diarrhea, the constipation, and diarrhea go flare back and forth based on the neurology of what's going on. But we need to understand this If the vagus doesn't work, it's impossible for you to heal, both digestive and neurologically. This is why I spend so much time talking about it, is because it's literally the missing link. If your gut isn't better, your vagus is at fault 99% of the time. The ones that it may not be at fault are like autoimmune things, but then we got to fix it anyways. Because if the system that controls it, the vagus nerve, that actually comes off your brain stem. So if you've ever asked, Doc, why do you always start when we do neuro with that brushing stuff? Why am I doing this? What is the point of doing the brushing? The answer is to make this nerve work correctly, to make the vagus nerve work correctly, and to actually inhibit the fight or flight response from becoming your dominant way of being. So why is the brushing a big indication? Because it's literally what primes your brain to go into fight or flight. Making sense? Mm-hmm. Perfect. So we got vagus nerve working correctly. How do we stimulate it? Chewing. How else do we stimulate it? Singing. How else do we stimulate it? Breathing. How else do we stimulate it? Gargling. How else do we stimulate it? The TENS unit that we teach you to clip on your ear. How else can we stimulate it? If you really need a lot of help, the new laser, and you can actually put it right on the vagus nerve and stimulate it that way and pump up energy that way. So it depends on how much issue we have, but we can do it that way. If the brainstem is stuck in that fight-flight response, and we know we have chronic inflammation, we can do a laser intranasally that will run the blood flow through the brain into the sphenoid region, so the mid part of the brain, and actually cause less inflammation in the brainstem. So that's why I actually got the new device, was to help people with brain issues. Can help with pain? Yes. But the main thing is to get rid of the inflammation in the brain and stimulate the brain regions. So with that being said, we chewed up the food. We have the enzymes. Now we swallow the food. If you have a friend or a family member who has swallowing issues, what nerve is not working correctly? The vagus nerve. It's like I'm harping on the same thing. It's because this is the sad part. If you have digestive issues and you have the other things I mentioned earlier, pain, anxiety, depression, memory, weight loss, all that stuff, the outlier that nobody touches that literally drives 90% of the time is the vagus nerve. So if it's not fixed, you're not going to get fixed. It's really, really simple. So after we know that that's working correctly, then we've got to make sure the stomach is acidic enough. So we can test that, and we can test your stomach lining using a test called the apple cider vinegar. It just lets me know if you have a good enough stomach lining, or we have to deal with any underlying issues. If there's an underlying issue, 99% of the time it's H. pylori. If you want to do the easy, cost-effective way, we just start treating it. If you want to actually know it, we do a breath test and see if you have H. pylori. There's a whole test to do. Then we get into the organs that are going to determine if your digestion works correctly. If you are unlucky enough, and I said unlucky enough to have your gallbladder removed, it's going to make digestion harder. So what stimulates your colon, your large intestine, small intestine to actually move is bile acids. So that means the acids that are stored in the gallbladder, when they are pushed out, will cause you to remove or defecate or move things out. So have we ever heard that the best cure for a hangover is greasy food? That's literally because when you eat greasy food, it causes you to go to the bathroom and push all the toxins out to go into the gallbladder to remove it. That's why people like the greasy food the day after. They probably aren't aware of it, but that's why it is, because the alcohol is a toxin. The liver's metabolizing it. And then when you squeeze that gallbladder out, you'll get rid of those toxins. Does that make sense? So the next thing, there are other things that can stimulate it. And this is why you'll see people who are taking Tumero or the anti-inflammatory product curcumin. When they take that, that can stimulate the gallbladder to contract, and then they have bowel movements. Other things that can stimulate the colon to start moving is acetylcholine, because acetylcholine is actually used for memory, but it's also used for muscle contraction. Or if you're taking nitric balance, it has some acetylcholine precursors in it, and it can lead to increased gut motility or movement. So if we're like, well, I'm just somebody who's just always constipated, it doesn't work, we give you nitric balance, acetylcholine, and maybe some Tumoro, and everything's going to clear out because it's going to start working. If it doesn't, what nerve is not working?
The vagus nerve.
The vagus nerve. That's right. It's almost like that's the one. And it is. It's literally the nerve of the digestive system. If the vagus nerve doesn't work, your digestive tract doesn't work. If the vagus nerve doesn't work correctly, your heart will not work correctly. If any organ system is not working correctly, aside from a couple, it's literally the vagus nerve. And you go, what are the couple that it isn't? Because people always want to know the one or two things that it isn't. That's going to be your prostate and your reproductive system. Everything else for digestion, besides the last 1/3 of your colon, is vagus nerve. So if we have issues with the other three that I just mentioned, that tells me you have a sacral problem or a coccyx problem. So we got to the stomach. What comes next? Gallbladder, liver, they push toxins out, makes the fat get digested. From the pancreas, we actually push out digestive enzymes, and they meet up with the bile duct, and they come down and they go into the digestive tract, and they make you digest carbohydrates. Guess where protein is initially digested? It's actually in the stomach. So if you have low stomach acid, and this is why stomach acid is important, then you're not going to digest your protein, and then you're going to get that swamp gut, or you're going to get a gut that isn't going to move correctly. So that's where we look at it. Protein digestive issues, we know it's acid. Fat digestive issues, we know it's gallbladder. Carbohydrate digestive issues, we know it's pancreas. So we start looking at these and we go, okay, how is this all playing together? Now we get into the colon. The small intestine first is going to take out the nutrients that are all the proteins and fats and carbs. And then the large intestine takes all the water-soluble vitamins and the water out. So the little one takes all the food out, and the big one takes all the water out. In the gut, though, there are also we've heard of prebiotics, probiotics, good bacteria, bad bacteria. And I need you to understand, it's really, really simple. And the simple thing is, if your gut, aka your stomach, is acidic and it makes your digestive tract acidic, only good bacteria can grow. If you eat carbohydrates high in sugar and processed foods, your stomach will be less acidic, your digestive tract will be less acidic, and then you grow the stuff that causes problems. So if you want to prevent digestive problems, acid in the stomach works. Guess why people take apple cider vinegar? It's an acid, as well as it has pre-probiotics in it. It has, so apples have pectin in it, and pectin is a fiber, and that fiber will drive the good bacteria. That's why forever we've heard apple cider vinegar cures everything. No, it will help with digestion though, and it will help with issues if it's a digestive problem. That's why if you take apple cider vinegar and you have a digestive issue that's causing skin problems, the skin problem will go away. So if you just heard, if you have skin issues, it literally could be digestive. If you're like, my liver's working fine, I still have skin problems, then we got to fix your gut. Oh, I have anxiety still, and I'm on all these meds. Digestive problems. Or I still have pain, and I'm on all these meds. Digestive problems. Oh, I still have memory issues, digestive problems. I can't lose weight, digestive problems. Here's what's crazy. Your gut literally metabolizes 1/2 of the toxins that go through your body. It's not just your liver. So it literally gets rid of all the toxins. So if you can't get rid of the toxins, you reabsorb them back in, and you're going to gain weight to literally just deal with the toxins that you keep reabsorbing to try to get them out of your body. Isn't that crazy? So gut healthy, body healthy. So it's really, really simple. So then we start looking at, well, how does the gut relate to the brain? What do you think the nerve that I'm going to talk about is the superhighway between the gut and the brain?
The vagus.
The phrenic nerve? No, the vagus nerve, the vagus nerve, the vagus nerve. So what we need to understand is that the vagus nerve is not just a nerve to control the gut, but how it actually communicates. 60% of all the nerve fibers in the vagus nerve go up to the brain. That means the nerve is more about feeling than controlling. The other 40% are going down to control. Why is that important? Because if the brain gets good information in, it can literally get good information out, and then everything will start working correctly. What nerve gets deactivated or inhibited or fatigued when we stress? Hey, I'm hearing these vagus nerves everywhere. As you can see, I'm talking about the same thing because everybody misses. How do we test the vagus nerve? For you few and beautiful people who have been in the class, or many, and we see lots online, the gag reflex is the quickest way to check the vagus response. If you have a proper gag reflex, I know the nerve is working correctly. And I'll hear from people, yeah, but I gag really easily. I go, this is how we know if it's working correctly. If you take your toothbrush or your finger and you touch the middle of your tongue backwards and you gag, it is working correctly. If you have to touch the back of the tongue, it is not working correctly. If you have to touch the uvula, the little dangle in the back, it's not working correctly. I literally have patients that I take the swab and I touch the tongue, nothing happens. I touch the uvula, nothing happens. I touch the side and we might get up. That means that nerve is fatiguing. Why would it fatigue? Besides controlling the digestion, it's also the brake for stress. So if you're chronically stressed, you'll actually burn out this nerve because it actually drives signals into the brain to tell it to calm down. So this is where the polyvagal theory and a bunch of this information comes from. But we know it's a nerve, but did we know it's a highway for neurotransmitters? Most people don't. So what does that mean? It means it's literally the highway that moves serotonin, dopamine, acetylcholine, GABA to the brain. So if the vagus nerve is fatiguing, do we think we're going to have proper serotonin, dopamine, acetylcholine, and GABA in the brain? No. So how is the brain-gut connection happening? The vagus nerve. If you do not have a proper gag reflex, it's not working correctly. That means neurotransmitters do not get to the brain correctly. That means this is how, if you have gut health problems, you can have depression. This is how, if you have gut health problems, you can have anxiety. This is how, if you have gut health problems, you can have sleep problems. This is how, if you have gut health problems, you can have memory problems. All because this isn't working correctly, or our digestive system is off. So let's say we're unlucky enough to not be educated to know that if we eat these wrong foods, too much salt, too much processing, too much alcohol. So let me put it this way. What do we use to disinfect and get rid of bacteria? We use alcohol. What do you think it does to your gut? The exact same thing. So it will kill the microbiome. The good news is there's ways to repopulate it. The good news is that we have products that we can give you to repopulate it. The thing though is does the vagus nerve work? Because if it doesn't, we're wasting our time. There's no point giving you all these good products to repopulate the digestive tract if the control system isn't working correctly, because what we'll see is 3 to 6 months later, the problem's back. Because you fix everything up. Like this is the example. So you move into a new house. You want a new lawn. The lawn doesn't look really good. You plant the sod and you don't put a sprinkler system in. You have a beautiful digestive tract. You have beautiful sod lawn, and within a month it dies because you haven't been watering it every 3 days in the summer like you need to. The same thing happens. If you don't have the sprinkler system, if you don't have the vagus nerve, the sod's going to die, the bacteria is going to die because you're not controlling proper movement. So what are the products that we use to make sure the gut is healthy after we know the digestive tract is healthy, after we know you have good digestive enzymes and you're not eating the wrong things? We will change the pH with a product that we have called Stringtia. And it's actually interesting because this is actually a yeast. And the yeast will not cause yeast infections. What it will do is we'll change the pH of the gut to make sure that it's the right pH for the bacteria to grow. Then what you need is enterovite, or short-chain fatty acids. This is the product that bacteria literally make when they eat fiber and what they use to make more energy. So what does that mean? You give you enterovite, and it's literally rocket fuel to grow all the good bacteria. If you drink your alcohol with sugar, you're giving rocket fuel to the bad bacteria. Now, don't get me wrong, if you have a good microbiome, you can get away with it. But if you want to make sure that you don't destroy your gut, you can have your wobbly pops, but you also need to have your enterovite and your glutathione to make sure that you don't hurt your liver and you don't destroy your microbiome. So how do people get colon cancer? They consume 2 to 3 drinks or a large amount in different times, but they don't regrow the good bacteria, and the good bacteria keep inflammation down. They allow the colon to actually heal. So what do we need to do? Make sure we have an acidic gut, good gut bacteria. Make sure that we're eating fibers. You've heard me talk about the different fiber types, right? So for the people online, how this works is every single food that you eat has a different fiber in it. That's the cellulose that won't get broken down when we eat it. Guess what the bacteria eat? They eat the cellulose. They eat those fibers. And each fiber that you eat, there's a different bacteria for it. For healthy gut function, you want on average 30 different fibers a day. Now, what counts as a fiber? Broccoli does, spices do. So if you have a bunch of different spices, those all count as different bacteria. To grow bacteria, you do not need to eat large quantities of the different fibers. Literally 2 slices of carrot will give you the fibers. You also need to understand that with the gut, within 3 days, the microbiome changes. So my gut's really good. Then I go over to, let's say, China, and I'm in all this pollution, and maybe I get exposed to a gram-negative bacteria. That means I get traveler's diarrhea. Guess what happens? You literally just destroyed your gut. And now you can be going towards, because with the diarrhea, it pushes out all the good microbiome. And then we need to take an antibiotic to make sure that nothing's going to get us sick, or we do that, and then we kill all the rest of the microbiome. And now we come back home and we're eating an American diet again, and now we repopulate with the wrong stuff. So what can cause gut issues? The easiest way, and they've shown this in research, to cause a gut problem is to literally cause a head injury. So what does that mean? You literally hit your head, inflammation in your brain goes down the superhighway called the vagus and causes inflammation in the gut and breaks down the gut lining. Your immune system in your body is so connected, this is what's crazy, that if you're a celiac patient and you put gluten in your mouth, within 10 minutes, you will have digestion of the gut lining, and you don't even have to eat the food. Isn't that crazy? So there's literally antibodies in the mouth that will react with your nervous system and tell you to start reacting, and it will literally start breaking down the gut lining. So get a head injury, you'll start getting gut problems. So with a head injury, you got to fix the brain and the gut. Well, I only have gut problems. Well, then we have to fix the gut and the brain because they're connected. Oh, my vagus nerve is shot. Then we only have to fix one, but yeah, I got bigger issues going on. What's another way to destroy the gut and also cause brain problems? Be exposed to gram-negative bacteria. So what does that mean? It means when you stain them, they don't change color. So this is things like E. coli, salmonella, traveler's diarrhea, Montezuma's revenge, different things like that. That will literally destroy your gut and then cause brain inflammation. What's another way to get this to happen? Have parasites. Have a viral or bacterial infection. And God forbid, have an autoimmune disease. You do not want those. So the gut controls the immune system as well. So if the gut isn't working, we won't have the neurotransmitters come up and the brain won't work correctly. But it works vice versa. If the brain is inflamed, it will come down and affect the gut. So whatever's happening in one will affect the other. To the point where, and this is crazy, for ALS, what they're doing now is they're cutting the vagus nerve. Because they know that if they sever the vagus nerve, the person will get another 6 months of life. Because if the inflammation is coming from the gut, they cut it, there's no way for the neurotransmitters and everything to get up. So now you'll start seeing all these deficits and issues come up, but they won't die quickly because the inflammation in the gut can't get to the brain. And the brain can't get to the gut. It's crazy. They get a little extra life, but we know then they're not going to have a good life for the rest of their lives. So what are easy ways for us to help you? Vagal nerve stimulation. But if you have friends or family members who are suffering from, ever had a head injury? You have gut problems. Ever had digestive issues? Obviously straightforward gut issues. But the ones that most people aren't aware of is autoimmune can literally be caused by gut. So your literally Hashimoto's can be caused by gut. Your arthritis can be caused by gut issues. Your MS can be caused by gut. Your ALS, your psoriasis, your diabetes, all these things can be flared up from the gut. So if you don't fix it, it'll just keep propagating. And then if we have emotional issues, straightforward. The one that most people have missed is if you have chronic pain issues and fatigue, it can be digestive. It can be your gut. So what I'm showing you here is there's multiple factors involved here. It's not as simple as, well, I just have diarrhea. That's one of the symptoms, but you can have a silent digestive issue, have no symptoms, and that's what's causing your problem that you're coming in with. Well, doc, I just have brain fog. Well, it could be the chronic inflammation in your gut that you're not experiencing. It's pain that's causing the brain fog. And you experience it every time you eat carbohydrates, or you experience it, and a lot of people don't put those together. So my hope and my prayer is you can put these together, and if you have a friend or family member who has an issue that hasn't been resolved, maybe you need to look to the gut. And if they don't know where to go, I'm always here. And if they need help somewhere else, we can help them find somebody in some other state. But we want to look for the things that have been missed. Because nothing happens in your body by accident. There's an underlying reason. It's just we got to figure out what's causing it. Do you want to know what the 3 reasons usually are? Number 1 is oxygen decreased. So you don't have enough oxygen saturation. That causes chronic inflammation. Number 2 is blood sugar instability. And number 3 is chronic HPA axis or stress. That's 95% of the reason why people get sick. And then it correlates with the brain. And then the brain starts falling apart, the body falls apart, and it feeds. But the cool thing is you can make it feed back. You can get the brain inflammation down, get the body inflammation down, and then you can actually watch the body heal and come back online and actually take care of itself. So think of your friends or family members who have issues and nothing has worked, who have issues and they don't know where to go. We can look at the gut, we can look at the brain, and we can literally see what's going on. Does anybody here have any questions?
You said the spices, so would salt be a spice?
Salt does not count as a spice. It has to have fiber in it. So the question was, does salt count as a spice? Not for fiber. So curcumin, turmeric, oregano, rosemary, everything else, basil, everything else but salt.
Pepper?
Pepper counts. White pepper's 1, black pepper's 1.
Okay.
Curry would count. All the different spices will count. Just salt doesn't count. Salt can actually flare up the problem and make it worse.
So, what do you tell someone who is addicted to sugar and has tried everything?
Addicted to sugar and tried everything. We look at how stressed out is the brainstem? What underlying, so we're addicted to sugar. That means our self-medicating behavior is sugar. What's our dopamine levels, serotonin levels? We stabilize that. That can help with it. If we still have issues, then we start working down the gut microbiome. And then we go, okay, brain's fine. Inflammation, we're seeing stability in the back of the brain. That's fine. Neurotransmitters, we're seeing those going at good levels. Then we start working our way down. Is digestion good? Is the acidity good? Then we go pancreas, liver, gallbladder. That's all good. Then we go into digestive tract. And if you really want to know, we can do stool samples to see what their microbiome levels are. We can also then look and see if there's an underlying autoimmune that hasn't been diagnosed. Like, say we have leaky gut and we're not even aware of it, that could be causing the chronic inflammation. So we got to figure out what's driving the underlying issue. Usually for sugar, it's a self-soothing product. So we have to figure out how to help the person get out of the brainstem fight or flight response. So I would recommend getting that brainstem stabilized, and we can use different things in office, and the new device I have, the new laser thing, to actually downregulate the stress response. Once that goes down, we usually start seeing the self-medicating go down. So, and then if you need to get even deeper, then we can also use auricular therapy. I've never talked about this in the office, but it's a device I have that is an acupuncture through the ear that will reset the pancreatic shot of dopamine you get when you actually eat sugar. And it will reset that through auricular therapy, which is like acupuncture, but using ear meridians. So we can use that for addictive people as well. So if the back of the brain is stable, brain inflammation is normal, we're taking serotonin and dopamine, and we're still having problems, then we go into auricular therapy to reset the addictive feedback loop that you're actually getting from the brain. So what would I say? Go step by step. Brainstem, digestion, neurotransmitters, then we get to addiction protocol from there.
And is that applicable also to salt addiction? Snacky.
Yes, it's going to be the same thing. You're going to have the same thing. You're getting that high. If you're addicted to salt, it's that high you get from eating the salt. That happens for both adrenal and gonadal body types, where you get your blood pressure goes up, you feel alive and alert, and then what will happen is your blood sugar will dive, and then you get the or the sugar cravings to pull your blood sugar back up, and then you go on a yo-yo until you go to sleep. There's also a new protocol I'm looking at that has meridians that we can use. They can actually reset the blood sugar stability in people to help them with fluctuations. So I'm interested to see what happens with that one when I do it, because with anybody with a continuous glucose monitor, if they're under care right now, I might do that meridian therapy just to see how quickly it affects them. So it'll be fun to see that one. I was like playing around. Any other questions?
No.
Cool. So I want to thank you guys and gals for being here. Look at your friends and family who have underlying issues that haven't been able to get fixed, haven't been able to get taken care of, and know there's another way to look at it, not just because I have people who are on heavy narcotics and the depression hasn't gone away, and there's an underlying issue still there. The brain inflammation will drive it. That's usually the underlying big thing. We just have to figure out how to stop it. Leaky gut can cause that. Lack of neurotransmitters can cause that. Oxygen, blood sugar, and HPA axis will drive that. Be that light for your friends to let them know there is other ways to go. And I want to thank you for being here, and take that step and say, why don't you try something new? Have a good night.